Hello, everyone. My name is Lindsay Shuck with Family Office Networks. Thank you for joining the FON webinar series today featuring Chromatix. CEO John Coyne will be presenting today. John has a 40-year history of advanced technology developments and corporate development in the USA, Europe, and Asia. A recognized expert in the field of artificial intelligence, holder of several patents in electronics and biological devices. At the end of today's presentation, we will have time for Q&A. At any point you have a question, please use your chat option so John can answer accordingly at the end.
Thank you, Lindsay, and I want to thank the Family Office Network for this opportunity and for all you attendees for allowing us to present our unique business technology and opportunity for investment. We're in the business of licensing unique color-changing technology to a variety of global brands, and are using it for a variety of products and specialized uses. Color represents one of the most important factors in purchasing decisions. In fact, about 80% of decisions in purchasing are stimulated by color. However, the light waves that produce that color and our ability to perceive it have other important elements that we've discovered, especially in safety, energy production, energy conservation, and most recently in healthcare. What started out for us in the aesthetic arena has now broadened into these other areas. We spent the early part of our corporate development building a global brand portfolio of customer relationships that confirm the importance of our technology and the abundance of uses these experts in their industries are developing. In other words, initially we wanted to prove that it wasn't only us that thought this was a good idea. We wanted to find out if customers actually thought it was a good idea too. So in this presentation, we're going to discuss the brand of color-changing chemistry we call V-Chromatix. The V stands for volts, and the volts plus chemistry equal color on demand. So we are currently raising $10 million to expand our growing portfolio of brand names, intellectual assets, and uses of our technology. We're going to present our technology with some use cases under development, and then some general aspects of our business. My executive team is watching, so if I forget anything of importance, I'm sure they're going to stimulate me with a prompt. Now, before we do all of that, just for some fun and some information on our vision for this technology and how it works, we've got a short 2-minute video. And that will hopefully show you our vision for this technology and give you an understanding of the technology and how it works. And it's presented by our scientists who are the leading experts in the field of color-changing electrochromism.
For years, we've fantasized about color-changing technology. From cars to screens to clothing and beyond, we've only dreamt of the possibilities. Until now, color on demand is now a reality.
My name is John Reynolds, and I'm a professor of chemistry and biochemistry.
The Reynolds Group at Georgia Tech are recognized as some of the world's leading experts in electrochromic polymer materials science.
The ECP technology stands for electrochromic polymers that change color under an electrochemical stimulus. And in essence, we could capture any color of the rainbow.
So an electrochromic device actually consists of 5 different layers. We're going to have current passing through the cell, through all the different layers. And what's going to happen is the molecules are going to change their shape or their conformation. And that's going to change how they interact with light. All right, so we're going to start off by coating our colorless polymers.
Creating a structure that includes a conductive surface to transport electricity, we apply the polymer components, the clear polymer, an electrolyte to conduct the electricity, and the color polymer.
So I'm going to show you how we switch an electrochromic device. And to do that, I have a laptop right here that's going to control something that we call a potentiostat. And what that is basically a battery. And that's going to hook 2 wires that I'm then going to connect to the electrochromic device. And once I hook it up to do that, I'm going to apply 1 volt. The device will switch between its color and its colorless state, where it's causing it to lose electrons and causing it to gain electrons as we apply 1 volt.
Think of the color like a ribbon. Looking at the ribbon full on, you see the color. But as we apply an electrical current, the molecules of the ribbon twist, and the color appears to get lighter as it moves into the invisible spectrum to become transparent. The color or clear state will remain until we apply the current again. This is unique in the industry, and only Chromatix can do it. With over a dozen global brands currently developing with Chromatix, the future is about to get a whole lot brighter. Chromatix, welcome to the color revolution.
Thanks to the Rolling Stones for that ending. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to introduce you to some of the fundamentals of the technology so that you understand why we're so differentiated from everyone else in the marketplace. Now, although some of these slides are going to look complicated, I'm not a chemist, and so I'm going to keep this high level and stick to the germane issues that I think that you will find interesting. So there are basically two types of displays that are common to us. Emissive displays are what you're looking at now to see this presentation. It basically means that the light is broadcast to you and stimulated by the technology that produces the colors. Thanks to the discoveries in OLED technologies in the 80s, a multi-billion-dollar OLED industry was created and emerged that enabled just about everything that we're looking at in IT products. And I think we're at the forefront of just such a new industry. So on the right, you'll see these light-emitting displays here produce colors in this way. The red, green, and blue are interfaced in such a way that they blend the colors. And when you blend all those together, you get white. And that's an important distinction from what we're talking about. And that's because this light is broadcast out to you. Nature works in a completely different way. And so all the colors that you see around you are reflective. The green you see in a tree, for instance, is a result of all the light in the visible spectrum being subtracted until only the green is seen. You change the light and you change the color. And if any of you have been in the nightclub with black light, you'll know what I mean. This is what Anna was talking about in the movie and explains how our technology works. The molecular structure is changed, and so is the reflective quality of the molecule. Now, on the bottom, as you see on the left, and you're probably familiar with, is e-books. They're a form of reflective technology that move the black and white components with positive and negative electrical charges to change the text and the images in black and white. We do a similar thing. We use electricity to change the state of the chemistry to reflect different colors. To compare on the right, when we mix all the colors, we get black. So any of you with kids who have seen the results of overmixing paint, this is essentially what happens. But this is the basis of our color development and the basis on which artists, photographers, and printers provide the abundance of colors that they use to bring you their art. Now, in this slide, what I'm trying to tell you here is that there is an industry already built up around electrochromism, and it's been around for a while. There's examples here, the residential windows. For those of you who've flown on a Boeing Dreamliner, you know that you can tune the window color. And then there's goggles that are tunable for light and dark. And those are pretty well-established industries. You know about e-ink and e-paper because of things like e-books. For those of you with some luxury cars, the rear view mirrors are electrically stimulated to darken and lighten to protect your eyes from glare. And of course, there are labels and other products being developed. But one of the things I wanted you to notice here is that these are monochromatic. And they're generally speaking going to be blue or gray. And if you look at the bottom, you'll see that there are some very, very big names leading in this monochromatic industry. So the state-of-the-art technologies are that there are small molecules that are in color, but they're terribly difficult to switch, and they're not very stable. Metal oxides are the ones that you saw in the previous slide. They are controllable, but they require electrical stimulation all the time to produce their color. Now, the difference with us is that we use a polymer technology that creates exceptional color control, and we have exceptionally fast switching. The switching on the metal oxides, for instance, can take minutes, whereas we operate in seconds. Now, that's an important distinction, and between us and any other competing alternative. The colors that I'm showing you at the top here are all taken from slides from our laboratories. And the main takeaway is that we understand this chemistry so well that it is tunable. And that means we can use our base backbone technology to make virtually any color. And we can scale this synthesis into industrial scale quantities. And that's an importance for deployment. Now here's an example of that color control. From the slides at the top, you see that our team is based in Atlanta, and they thought it would be fun to create a Coca-Cola brand label. So by mixing two colors, the magenta and the yellow, we came up with the Coca-Cola brand color. And that's important because that means that we can stimulate and build specific colors for customer applications. And of course, we can blend the colors in such a way that we can create shades of blacks and browns. This is an overly complicated slide, but I wanted to show you something that I think is very important and another distinction with us. Not only can we blend the ink colors themselves to create different colors, but the stimulation of electricity changes those colors in such a way that you'll see that with magenta and cyan, the difference between 5 volts down here at 0.5 volts down here at the bottom and 0.8 volts changes the entire color portfolio of those colors. And that's going to be very important for our future, in which we are going to digitize this information and characterize it in such a way as that we can provide precise color palettes. Now, all of this is pretty interesting, but it's not important if it can't be deployed. The metal oxides that I showed you earlier, where the metal oxides are blended into the glass, are a particular instance of how they need to get that product to market. Now, we, on the other hand, have multiple ways of deploying our technology. You'll see that there's blade coating, slot die coating, ultrasonic spraying, and airbrush painting that you saw Anna doing in the video. What happens here is that we can actually formulate the inks to operate just like regular inks, but with the ability to do electrical stimulation to change their color. A huge difference. And the other thing I wanted to show you is that if you look here, we're talking about 100 to 500 nanometers of material. That means that our material goes an awful long way. And to put it in perspective, a piece of paper is about 0.1 millimeters, which is 100,000 nanometers thick. And John Reynolds, our CSO, likes to remind me that about 20 pounds of our material could cover every window in the Empire State Building. And what that means is our cost of material may not be a major factor in its deployment. Since this slide was created, we've successfully developed printing and changing color on regular paper and stretchable material, which is why in the video you saw that we're projecting color changing clothing. Now, in this slide, what I'm trying to show you here is proof of two things: the color blending and the change in stimulus of the electricity that changes the outcome of these glasses. We've been working on color changing lenses, and one of our first partners is one of the leaders in optics on a global basis. Now, the proof here is that on the top here, we started with blending an orange and a blue and we got a brown. And then what happened was, by putting in 1 negative volt, we get the darkened color. With 0 volts, we get the lighter color, and then with the stimulation, we get nearly clear. Let me put this in perspective too. Photochromatic lenses have been out for a while, and they're the ones that change in sunlight. Trouble with photochromatic is also it is affected by the temperature around it. But a color to clear photochromatic lens changes a little bit longer than 60 seconds. We can change ours in 2.5 seconds, and the clear to colored about 10 to 60 seconds. But again, we're very fast in operating in seconds. And this particular technology used a simple cell battery to stimulate the change. And I want to remind you that the important part of that is that we don't use constant current. So the number of switches we get are very much in a large order of magnitude. We've seen switches, 10,000 switches to 100,000 switches, depending on the color, depending on the length of time that it's been switched. But this longevity makes our products have sustainability in the marketplace. So that's our technology. I am restricted from talking about the brands and what these brands are doing because of NDAs we have them, and because they want a technological and marketing advantage going forward. But I can give you some general ideas. As you can see, we're working on lenses. So we're working in the field of optics with some of the largest producers of lenses in the world. We are working on the Mars manned exploration program in developing a shield for the astronauts to wear in manned exploration of Mars. We're looking at color-changing sportswear, that's clothing and shoes, for instance. We are currently working on color-changing phones, the actual outside of the phone to change color. With a very large group in the hotel industry, we are working on color-changing walls, floors, and windows. In the automotive industry, we started out with the idea of developing color-changing decals and moving all the way to color-changing skins for color-changing cars and color-changing windows. In the cosmetics industry, which is fundamentally where we started our experimentation, we're working on color-changing fingernails and cosmetic packaging. And as you can probably imagine, there are many military applications for what we're doing, and I'll be discussing a little of that going forward. So some of the use cases. This is a use case that came out of the minds of a large pharmaceutical company. And this is very typical of the way we get stimulated to build new products. It's the customer that has the knowledge of their marketplace. It's the customer that has the knowledge of their customer needs that really sort of stimulates what it is they want to build using our technology. In this particular case, the medical patches and analyzer markets, roughly $6 billion. But the idea here is that there are many devices that you put on your arm, for instance, and everybody can see them. But we are building currently a prototype that allows you to take a photograph using your camera. That photograph will then analyze the color disposition that's going to be required in the blending. Remember, using the voltage and using the blend of colors that we have for the mix of the racial types, for instance. And it will change the color of the device so that it blends more closely with your skin. And as I said, we are actually working on prototypes for this today. Now, in the beginning of my presentation, I talked about visual acuity. And this is not only a cosmetic effect, it actually has healthcare benefits as well. So we've been working on some new chemistry that allows us to very narrowly define wavelengths of light. So for visual acuity, this means enhanced vision, for instance, in different light conditions. You can tune the acuity to your environment. So for instance, if you're driving at night and you're affected by glare, we can provide a switch that allows you to reduce the glare. You can get better vision on the ski slopes, so you're not blinded by the reflection of the sun on the snow. You can change the acuity of the green on the golf course, the blue in the ocean, and just about any other environment you can think of. And you can do that with a switch. So what we also discovered, if you look at this graph here, is that we can filter out particular light. And lights that are important in certain optical situations are laser lights. So we're now looking at the blocking of red, green, and even infrared laser frequencies. That has an important aspect in our military applications. But in this picture, you'll see this poor guy here is being stimulated by blue light. Blue light has a number of health effects, but we've now discovered that we can filter this blue light on demand. And that's had a different effect, not just for the safety features, but for our ability to experiment with the change in the circadian rhythm. We have a major brand that is now working with us to develop the concept of changing the circadian rhythm so that you get better sleep at night, or you'll have more awareness in the daytime. And again, that came to us from that customer, the idea of using that to change our health aspects of the way we interact with our IT devices. Another aspect of our use is in security. We can actually embed these different kinds of patterns in paper. And that allows us an anti-counterfeiting capability that I don't think I've ever seen anywhere else. And one of the early periods of my background was in security, and in particular fingerprint sensing. And by putting multi-factor capability into these documents, such as fingerprint sensing, retinal scan, facial scans, we can actually provide multi-factor capability to protect documents and to protect these tradable instruments that I have in this particular slide. And I think that market's about $14 billion today. And as it says here, it's going to be around 25 billion in the future. But ours is a completely differentiated technology where we are not using the chemistry of the paper to provide the security, nor the holographic patterns, but the electrical stimulation and the combination of those factors into the documents. Now, of course, many of you are probably operating from home. And we've all been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, many of the countries want to get back into the economic flow of the past. And so we were considering how our technology may be used to help in that process. And it turns out that there's a combination of biosensing chemistry and RACP technology that we foresee can identify whether or not people and things have been exposed to viral agents. I'm not going to go into the science of that, but there's a well-proven biologic sensing material and triggers that will allow us to create something as simple as a binary switch that says, of the multiple coronaviruses that are out there, you may have been exposed to it. It doesn't tell you how much exposure you've had. It just basically says, you've been exposed, you should go and have a test. And then we explored the idea of putting that on a paper-based sensor as well. So We can put these on things like the surgical gowns that doctors are using, or exposed packaging that's going through shipping through multiple channels, and even on the products that you're accessing at your supermarket. And so the packaging part also led us to the idea of re-stimulating a concept that was developed by a customer in the past that wanted to detect whether or not a package had been dropped or abused in some way during shipment, and identify that package as having been damaged. And of course, that has implications on insurance and the acceptance of those products as they are received. Now, this particular idea is a new idea, and we are now reaching out to microbiologists in the field to work out the combination of their technology with our technology. And I've worked with our scientists to basically come up with the concept of actually being able to chemically stimulate our technology so that it electrically changes the color from, say, red to green. We're not there yet, but this is something we'd like to move forward with. So, a little bit about the business. As I mentioned earlier, we're in the business of licensing our technology, and we built the business around the early stages of proving our technology with multiple brands. The main asset of our company is our intellectual properties. And we're the sole global licensee of this technology and have a unique relationship that allows us to sub-license the technology in specific fields of use to individual companies. We, over the course of the last 3 years, have invested in continual development of our base materials and continue to invest in the development of our new patentable technology. We're prosecuting new patents today. To keep our technology ahead of just about any competing alternative, we continually experiment with different ways of producing our product. Our expert science team represents some of the best thought leaders in the field and are certainly the leaders in color polymer electrochromatic science. So we have 14 global patents. The new patents in prosecution include some of those narrow band activities I spoke about earlier. But apart from that, we have trade secret protections in the formulation and synthesis of our product. Building what we build is a non-trivial matter, and to do the synthesis right, to get the quality control right, and to get the consistency of quality and color correct is a complex function which we understand well. And it's also important to know that we have a world-class science team that understand this technology and will be able to produce many more characteristics of our product going forward. But one of the other assets that we have is that we have developed a way for our customers to develop their IP and protect their IP from disclosure. You know, many of the companies out there do sponsorship of academic research. The problem with that research is that the academics like to publish, and that can be a factor for dissuading companies from working with academics on the development of new technologies that they may want to use. We created what I would like to call a firewall, and our customers work with us and our academic teams and scientists, and we protect that intellectual asset until such time as the customer is willing to allow the academics to publish. I've discovered that's a unique feature of our business capability. And of course, we have the unique ability to develop our color products across different types of market. So importantly, our revenue model. We basically lay out exclusivity licenses for fields of use. So those people in optics will have an exclusive field of use in optics. Those for instance, color changing cars will have their specific use. And what I discovered was that it was probably an equitable way of dealing with these customers to have a license fee of 5% across the board. The basis of that 5% is part of the negotiating process. Sometimes we will base our royalty streams on the end product and the price of that end product in the marketplace. What we have now discovered, though, is that many of our clients would like to embed the license royalty fee in the supply chain. And so we're now embedding that price in the polymers themselves. So as we deliver the inks and the polymers, the price performance on the royalty arrangements are automatically generated. It simplifies the payment process for the customer, and it simplifies the audit process for us. We also ask for exclusivity fees with minimum performance terms. The last thing we ever want is for a major customer to license our product and not get the product into market. We also derive revenues from consulting and advisory services. Now, sometimes that's the advisory services of our scientists, but in many cases, it's a combination of our scientists and some of the prototyping developers we have partnerships with across the globe. And in fact, in particular, we have a group called Invisible based in Europe that does research with us on the mixing of the inks, the production of thin films and roll-to-roll production, and complex designs for prototypes. That helps our customers get to market early, because one of the disadvantages of an early market like this is that not many people know about this technology, and so we provide that expertise and allow them to accelerate the transformation of their ideas into products. So that was talking about all of the ideas centered around our polymers, and that's how our revenue is generated. But we also see the ability to get microtransactions for what we call the color on demand. So we've encouraged a couple of our customers to limit the number of colors in a product to say 1, 2, or 3. And the customer then has the stimulated product of being able to switch it from 1 to 3 colors. But what we now know is that we could create the infrastructure to do what I call the iTunes model. Color on demand downloaded from the internet. And so the idea here would be is that product that you bought might go from red to green, and you'd like it to be blue. And what you would do with us is that we would build the infrastructure to allow you to download a code that would allow that product to now switch to that alternative color. The revenue model behind that is pretty interesting as far as I'm concerned. The stimulus to change the product's color, it's just a few electrons and a download for a price. So if you paid, for instance, $200 for a pair of shoes and they went from black to white and you wanted them to include red, for an extra $20, you could probably get the red color and download it, and with an interface from your phone, change the color of your shoes. We foresee that happening in the future as the products of our customers become more familiar to the marketplace. And then what does that mean? So that means that there are precision demographics that we can now acquire. Precision information on what colors are interesting to what products, in what geographic locations, during seasonal changes, just a myriad of demographic data that is now unavailable. And that is very valuable information that we believe that we can sell. So that's the basis of our revenue. With that, with 40 customers, we are projecting 1.2 billion in EBIT. It's over $1 billion. But you notice our cost of goods is relatively low and flat. And the reason for that is that we distribute the risk of the product to the customer. The customer is responsible for the R&D necessary to get their products out. Our products are well known. Our polymers are well known to us. They're well understood. Where we have to build custom applications and custom polymers for our customers, there may be a slight uptick in the cost of production, but it's so well understood and it has such a strong backbone that we can project relatively even flat cost of goods sale. And then, of course, our projections are based on only a 2% penetration on the segmented available market. One of our customers that I had a recent meeting with said that they're projecting at least 11% of their product portfolio will be using electrochromics in their design. So with those numbers, we think that we have a business that will generate a reasonable amount of revenue and a reasonable amount of profit in a fairly short period of time. Right now, the basis of our customers is about 14 licensees or relationships that we are building, but we are focused on 4 of the top ones, some of which I've mentioned in this presentation. So with that, the ask is that we are raising $30 million in 3 tranches, $10 million in this initial tranche. And that's to expand the portfolio of customers we have and some of the polymers we're developing. After discounting it, giving it a haircut, doing net present value calculations, we basically ignored that, and we're asking at a $40 million pre-money valuation. We're going to use the $10 million to build our portfolio, and then our secondary raises are for the infrastructure to enable the color on demand that I discussed, and then to build the digital characterization of our color palette and build a chipset that will allow that color characterization to be delivered with precision and control and regularity, so that our customers know that when they get a baby blue in New York, it's going to be the same baby blue that's going to be in Beijing. And with that, I hope that I covered all the information. I'm willing and ready to take any questions. I just can't take questions about what customers are doing and who they are.
Thank you, John. Again, everyone, this is the time that you can chat over your questions using the questions drop down on your screen, so John can answer accordingly. And John, in the meantime, if you had any previous questions, now would be the time you can kind of read through those if you'd like.
Yeah, somebody asked about sustainability. Of course, our sustainability comes in the form of the diversity of the products that are going to be in the marketplace. You know, we're not reliant on one product to provide our projections, and the risk in that sustainability is also mitigated by the ability for us to have so many different products out there that if one doesn't work, there'll probably be 10 others that do. And we're providing the polymer, the customer is providing the marketing impetus, the building of the product, and all those costs associated with that. That was one of the questions. Another question came up about trials for cosmetics. This, if you understand the video that we produced, you know, we created a device. Those devices can be very thin. But this is not something that you would put in lipstick, for instance, or cosmetic makeups. And I'm not sure there's anybody on the planet wants to have a strange biomaterial at nanometer sizes on their skin. But we have explored the color changing fingernails, especially in, you know, fake fingernails. So those were 2 of the questions. Oh, can the company buy a trademark color? This is a great question. And as you noticed when I showed you the Coke stimulus, that would be a trademark color. And yes, we've had this thought, for instance, there are many stars and celebrities getting involved in fashion. And one of the discussions we've had is creating a very specific color palette for a celebrity, and so that they can use that as their brand. So what was the revenue last year? Last year, I guess we did just around $1 million. We're not in the phase right now of generating license revenue. We're in the phase of building the products with our customers to get them into marketplace. When we want to get into that discussion on what we're going to generate, we'll be happy to have that discussion with you guys. And those appear to be the only 3 questions I have so far. Oh, no, wait. Okay. Is the product available now for current use? Yes. We create the polymers, and we can produce them in general quantities that you require. So the short answer to that is yes. So it says so it appears that the products you are selling are the polymers or inks, the platforms for manufacturing services, consulting advisories, and services. Yes, we sell the polymers. It's our customers' responsibility to produce their products using those polymers. Can this be used to change the color of stone in jewelry? Yes, actually. There's a group in Europe right now that has been experimenting under a European Union grant on using these ECPs on a variety of different products. And that could be one of them. Could this be used, is a good question, could this be used to custom contact lens color? In fact, we've had that discussion. And the short answer is yes. We've looked at even the battery technologies necessary that are so small that they can stimulate the electrical current we need in something as small as a contact lens. And it says, have we worked with any advertisers or ad agencies in any way yet, and how? No. What we have had conversation with is people in signage. In particular, we had a discussion with a group in Europe where they are interested in the reflective nature of our technology, because the European Union is very concerned with light pollution. I live in the Los Angeles area, and we are bombarded with light displays and billboards, and so that's a discussion we're willing to have. That's a discussion that we'd like to progress, because we do foresee this in the future as having a reflective display capability. How do I justify a $40 million valuation? Has anybody who's asking for money justify a valuation? It's the ask, and I'm happy to have a discussion about it. Oh, please describe the management team. As Lindsay said, I have a background in technology. I was involved in some of the early developments of things that you're probably using today on your computers, and some of the things that you're doing on the internet. My Chief Operating Officer, Carl Nicola, has 40 years of Wall Street background and he's developed and exploited his talents to create publicly traded companies, and he guides the operations of our company. Our head of business development, Lance Littell, has been the person who's been most responsible for bringing in the global partners that we have to date. He established the relationships with those clients. He established the basis of our experimentation with them, generated the agreements for joint development, and negotiated the agreements on which we derive our revenues. Lance is a key part of our team. Another member of our team is Tom Bumblow, And Tom's responsible for financing the company, generating and doing the ask for the raising of capital, and bringing in strategic investment partners. And then there's the science team. Dr. John Reynolds is the leader in the field of color changing polymers. He's a recognized expert. He's also the source of many of the customers that come to us because he's so well known in the industry. Anna and Eric, who you saw in the video, work with John. They are the prime movers of the research and development that we do, and the quality assurance that we perform on making sure that there's consistent quality of our products going forward. And they are backed by a team of researchers that John assigns to particular research capability. So that's the fundamental team. Could this be, oh, I got another question here. Could this be used in wigs for custom color for cancer patients? So there's some experimentation on tubular synthetic technologies in textiles that we're aware of. And so the short answer is yes. Nobody's come to us yet on that front. How complicated is the technology for applying the electrical stimulation? Is this an integrated chip in an article of clothing or in a car? Well, so the process can be as complicated or as not as you like. So we can do a simple analog, for instance, stimulation of the color by dialing in a voltage. It's not complicated at all because what we're doing is generating a small voltage of electricity for a short period of time at a particular voltage. And for instance, one of our customers wanted to know how we would stimulate the electric capability from the cell phone internals to the cell phone externals, and it was a simple mapping of the electric through an application to our color device design. And it really depends on the specific design of an individual product. I says, when do we expect to be in the market with a competitive product? And I'm having trouble reading, it's so small, and move to the profitable phase. So the moving of product to market is dependent on our customers. And so it depends on the complexity. For instance, the product that we are developing for the pharmaceutical company took 6 to 9 months of discussion about what they wanted to do. And then we went into the prototyping phase, and then they'll go into the introductory phase. We are projecting product in the low-hanging fruit of our customers in 2021. How large can a product be made using your technology? It's a great question. Generally speaking, it depends on the way in which we build the device. We are now talking about, for instance, building a film that might be 9 or 10 feet long with 3 feet wide, like a wallpaper. The way we construct the underlying technology and how it drives our color is the fundamental aspect in that. And so it depends on the device manufacturer, but really unlimited. So somebody said it's very interesting. Foresee the ability to use this. Foresee the ability to use on skin as artificial melanin to provide skin cancer. No, I don't really foresee that as happening, but I never say no. And then it says, who can we talk to about your investment required? What number do we call? Please work with Lindsay and Peter Apostle at the Family Office Network on that, and we can discuss all the details that you're asking here about the percentages and the current investors that we have. And it's now 10:54, so 6 minutes to go. I think I got it all in the time frame that I hope didn't waste your time. I hope that you found this a stimulating presentation. I hope that you understand it enough to that it generates interest from you to have further discussions with us. Lindsay, I think I should hand it back to you.
Thank you so much, John, and thank you to everyone that attended today's webinar featuring Chromatix. We will be in touch with all of you individually. If there's any follow-up questions that you have, please feel free to reach out to us directly, and we hope you have a fantastic day.